This girl is forged from iron, whispered Nala, my voice low with awe. Imagine, someone our age caring for twins. Even a grown woman finds it a struggle. My friend and I were speechless. My heart ached for her. What my eyes saw, my ears could not believe. How will she ever go to school, my dear? We must befriend her. She seems like a good person, don't you think? How did you know what I was thinking? I replied, amazed. But first, we need to fetch our water. We can meet her later. No, 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 Nala insisted. We must start showing her kindness now. Look, she's struggling to carry the water jar and the babies down the path. Please, go and help her. Be cool. Let's go. We approached cautiously. Wait. Let us help you, I called out. Langa spun around, her eyes flashing with defensive fire. Wait. Who sent you? Tell me who sent you, or I will unleash my anger on you both. No one sent us. Nala said, hands raised. We saw you struggling with the babies and the jar. We decided to turn back and help you. Please, who are you? Just calm down. We are friends. Please, let us help you with the jar, I added. The time we spend here explaining is enough to reach your destination. After a tense moment, her shoulders relaxed. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You are welcome. Please, take it easy on yourself. My name is Amara, but my friends call me Era. You can call me Era. So, what is your name? Oh, my name is Langa. Please, both of us are from the community, and we would like you to be our friend, if it's okay. I'm sorry, I don't make friends. I understand, my dear. From your looks and your strength, it shows. But you can trust us, I pleaded. Please, just say yes, Nala chimed in. Langa finally gave a small, weary smile. Okay. Thank you very much. We will come from time to check on you. You can call us anytime you need. The unwavering protector. The threats to Langa and the twins, Lebo and Cabo, were constant. One afternoon, Uncle Sifo and his cronies arrived, their intentions clear. You are a child. A child cannot raise children, Sifo boomed. Give the twins to me. Let me give them the proper care they deserve. Chief, this small girl talks too much. Allow us to do our work. Let's go inside and do what we came for, one thug grumbled. Langa stood her ground, her late father's old hunting rifle held with a terrifying steadiness. You know the password. If you don't take another step. It was Nala and I who later found her, trembling but resolute after seeing off the mob. They will not have them, she whispered to us, her voice like steel. Not while I breathe. Her own cousin, a troublemaker named Django, was often her nemesis, until he overheard his parents, Sifo and Zola, plotting and realized the depth of their deception. He came to Langa, not with threats, but with a plea for forgiveness. I have been a fool, Langa. A wasted effort, misled by my own parents. The lands, everything, it was always rightfully yours. I am deeply, deeply sorry. But Langa's trust was not easily won. Don't come close to me, she warned, the rifle still nearby. We are tied by blood, and nothing changes that. But forgiveness is a long road. The sacrifice and the savior. When Lebo fell desperately ill, needing a blood transfusion and a 50,000 deposit at the clinic, Langa's world crumbled. Uncle Sifo saw his chance. I will give you the money, he said, his voice slick with false concern. On the condition that you sign over the land by the baobab tree. It is the only thing your father left you. Langa, cornered and desperate, was about to agree when a new presence entered their lives. A kind, well-traveled man named Bautumi, who had seen Langa's strength from afar, stepped in. He paid the medical bills, no strings attached. He saw the potential in all of them. He helped Langa register for her final school exams, and using his connections, secured full scholarship grants for Nala and me to study in Botswana. "This is for you," Bautumi said, handing us the acceptance letters. "Your hard work and your sister's sacrifice have opened this door." The joy was unimaginable. But it also ignited the final, most venomous plot from Uncle Sifo and Aunt Zola. Enraged that the twins would escape their grasp and get an education abroad, they plotted to have Bautumi killed and the evidence planted on Thabo. However, Django, now redeemed, had overheard their plan. He went straight to the authorities. Inspector John and his officers arrived at Sifo's compound as the final plot was being hatched. "You are both under arrest for conspiracy and the murder of your own brother," the inspector declared. As they were led away, Zola screamed, "Everything we did for you, Django." Django looked at them, his face a mask of disgust. "You are on your own." With Sifo and Zola facing justice, the air itself felt cleaner. The day came for Nala and me to leave for university. Bautumi, now a firm fixture in their lives as a mentor and benefactor, was there to see us off. Thabo, who had never given up on Langa despite her pushing him away, finally learned the truth about the baby he had seen, Lebo's child, a result of the terrible assault she had suffered. It was not Langa's, but her sister's, and Langa had shouldered that shame to protect her. "I'm sorry I misunderstood," Thabo said, his heart full of remorse and admiration. "I've always loved you, from the very beginning." Langa, her burdens finally lifting, allowed herself to lean into his support. "I know," she whispered. As the dust from the departing car settled, Langa stood with Thabo, holding her nephew, looking out over the sun-drenched hills of her home. She was no longer just a guardian of children, but a guardian of her own destiny, finally free to build a future shaped by her own incredible strength. The harvest of hope. The seasons turned on Sunstone Hill. The first rains after a long dry spell were a blessing, washing away the old pains and promising new growth. For Langa, the departure of Nala and her sister to the university in Gaborone was a bittersweet ache. The compound, once filled with the constant noise of the twins and her friends, was quieter now, the silence punctuated only by the coos of her nephew, whom they had named Kagiso, meaning peace. With Bautumi's guidance, Langa had enrolled in a concentrated business and agriculture program in the nearby town. She refused to be left behind. Her mind, once solely focused on survival, now blossomed with ideas. The land by the baobab tree, the very land Uncle Sifo had coveted, became her classroom and her canvas. Thabo was her steadfast partner. The misunderstanding over Kagiso had forged a deeper bond between them, built on transparency and shared purpose. Where Langa had vision, Thabo had relentless energy. Together, they cleared the land, not with hired thugs, but with their own hands and the help of a few grateful neighbors whom Langa had helped in the past. "You see," Langa explained to Thabo one evening, her fingers tracing lines in the red soil, "we won't just grow maize. We'll plant drought-resistant sorghum, intercropped with beans to fix the nitrogen. And there, on the sunnier slope, we can start a small orchard of mangoes and avocados. Bautumi says there's a market for them in the city." Thabo watched her, his heart swelling. "You sound like a chief, a farmer, and a scholar all in one." "I am a survivor," she corrected him softly. "And survivors learn to plan." Meanwhile, Django, truly a changed man, became the project's protector. He moved into the small hut near the main house, a self-appointed sentry. He handled the negotiations for seedlings, his once intimidating presence now used to secure fair prices and ward off any potential troublemakers who might have been loyal to his father. The community, which had once watched Langa's struggles with a mixture of pity and fear, now watched with growing respect. One market day, Mama Ada, the woman leader who had once led the charge to take the twins, found Langa at her new stall. She was selling fresh produce and the potent, herbal balm she made from local plants, a skill passed down from her mother. Mama Ada stood before the stall, her usual imperious demeanor softened. Langa, she began, her voice hesitant. The village talks. They say the soil on your father's land sings for you. Langa looked up, her expression neutral. The soil sings for anyone who listens with respect, Mama Ada. Mama Ada sighed, a sound of genuine remorse. We did not listen. We saw a child and thought we knew better. We were wrong. She placed a few coins on the counter for a bundle of spinach. The union, we are starting a communal grain bank. We could use your knowledge. Your mind is a sharper tool than any of ours. It was not an apology Langa had ever expected. She nodded slowly. I will come to the next meeting. I have some ideas about seed preservation. This was her final victory, not just being left alone, but being sought out. She was becoming a pillar, not an outcast. Letters from Botswana were their greatest treasure. Nalas were filled with animated descriptions of lecture halls and new friends. Langa, you would thrive here. There is a whole course on sustainable African agriculture. I am taking notes for you, my sister in all but blood. Tabo, you must make sure she is not working too hard. Lebo and Cabo send their love. They are top of their class in mathematics. Her sister's letters were more poignant. I miss the sound of the rain on the iron roof. I miss your strength. But I am making you proud. I will become a doctor, and I will come back and build a clinic right next to your farm. Tell Kagiso his auntie loves him. Each letter was a thread connecting them across the distance, weaving a tapestry of a future they were all building together. The first harvest festival. The day of the first harvest was a community celebration. The field, once a symbol of conflict, was now overflowing with golden sorghum and lush greenery. The entire village was invited. Children wove through the rows, their laughter a new kind of music. Bautumi had even driven from the city to be there, his face beaming with paternal pride. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Tabo stood before everyone. He was nervous, but his voice was clear and strong. Today, we celebrate the harvest, he began. But we are really celebrating the harvester. He turned to Langa, who was holding a sleeping Kagiso. Langa, you taught us all what it means to be strong. You fought for your family when no one else would. You turned a battleground into a breadbasket. He got down on one knee, pulling a simple, beautifully carved wooden ring from his pocket. A collective gasp, followed by cheers, rippled through the crowd. Langa, my son, my joy. Will you build this life with me, not as your protector, but as your partner? Will you marry me? Langa's eyes glistened with tears she no longer had to hide. She looked at the faces around her, Django's proud smile, Bautumi's encouraging nod, the hopeful eyes of her community. She looked down at the ring, carved from the wood of the baobab tree, the symbol of her roots and her resilience. She handed Kagiso to a beaming Mama Ada and took Tabo's hands, pulling him to his feet. My answer was always yes, she said, her voice carrying across the field. From the moment you chose to see my strength and not my struggle. Yes, Tabo. Let us build it together. That night, under a canopy of countless stars, the people of Sunstone Hill feasted, danced, and sang. The story of the girl with the gun was fading, replaced by the legend of Langa, the farmer, the sister, the leader. Her fight was over. Her future, abundant and bright, had finally begun. Deepening roots. The engagement of Langa and Tabo was more than a personal union, it was a symbol of a new era for Sunstone Hill. The energy of the harvest festival seemed to seep into the very soil, fueling a season of unprecedented growth. Langa, true to her word, joined the women's union. She did not go as a supplicant, but as a consultant. She stood before the seasoned women, many of whom had once judged her, and presented her plans for the communal grain bank with a quiet authority that commanded respect. We should not just store one type of maize, she explained, using a charcoal stick to draw on a flat stone. We need a diversity of seeds, sorghum, millet, cowpeas. If one crop fails, the others will sustain us. I can teach the method of intercropping I used on my land. It increases yield and protects the soil. Mama Ada watched, a slow smile spreading across her face. The girl she had seen as a stubborn child was now a woman offering wisdom that could safeguard the entire community against hunger. The vote to implement Langa's plan was unanimous. Meanwhile, Tabo and Django's partnership flourished. With the profits from the first harvest, they invested in a small, second-hand irrigation pump. Django, with his intimate knowledge of the land's contours, directed the digging of channels, ensuring every plot, not just Langa's, received life-giving water. The project, once solely Langa's dream, was becoming a community-wide lifeline. The shadow of the past. One afternoon, a sleek, unfamiliar car pulled up to the compound. A well-dressed lawyer from the city stepped out, holding a briefcase. Langa's first instinct was a spike of old fear, her hand unconsciously reaching for a place where her rifle used to be. "Ms. Langa?" the lawyer asked. "I represent the estate of Sifo and Zola." Django emerged from the hut, his posture immediately defensive. "What do they want now?" he growled. The lawyer raised a placating hand. "Peace. I am here because your uncle, Sifo, has passed away in prison." The news landed like a stone. There was no grief, only a heavy, complicated silence. Zola, the lawyer explained, shattered by the loss and facing a long sentence, had finally been broken. In a bid for a reduced term, she had provided a full confession to the authorities, detailing all their schemes, including the location of hidden assets she and Sifo had embezzled over the years. "The court has overseen the liquidation of those assets," the lawyer said, opening his briefcase. "As the wronged party, a significant portion has been awarded to you, Langa, and to you, Django, as the whistleblower." He handed them a bank draft. The figure was life-changing. It was more than enough to build a proper house, to buy a vehicle, to secure the twins' university education for years to come. Langa stared at the paper, the instrument of her family's misery now becoming the foundation of its security. It felt like a final, twisted knot of justice had been loosened. "Use it to bury the past," Django said, his voice thick with emotion. "We have already planted the future." The wedding under the baobab. The wedding was not held in a church, but under the sprawling branches of the ancient baobab tree, the very land that had been at the heart of the conflict. It was a celebration of the community itself. Nala and Langa's sister had flown home, their arrival a whirlwind of tears and laughter. Lebo and Cabo, now confident young adults, stood as proud members of the wedding party. Bao Tumi, beaming, gave Langa away. Langa wore not a white dress, but a stunning, modern take on a traditional wrap, the color of rich earth embroidered with golden suns. As she walked towards Tabo, she saw the entire tapestry of her life reflected in the faces of the guests, the struggle, the resilience, the friendship, and the hard-won peace. They exchanged vows they had written themselves. "Tabo," Langa said, her voice steady and clear. "You saw the fighter in me and called her beloved. You are the steady rain to my son. I promise to be your partner in every harvest, through every season." Tabo, his eyes shining, replied, "Langa, my son. You taught me that true strength is not in a fist, but in a steadfast heart. I promise to stand by you, to learn from you, and to love you, and the family you fought so hard to protect, all the days of my life." As the elder placed the traditional marriage cord around their wrists, a cheer erupted that seemed to shake the very leaves of the baobab. 5 years later, the farm had become a recognized cooperative, Sunstone Harvest, supplying produce to hotels and restaurants in the city. Langa, now a respected agronomist after completing her studies, managed the business from a small, solar-powered office on the property. Tabo managed the fieldwork and logistics, his natural charisma making him a brilliant leader. Django was the head of security and community relations, his past entirely redeemed by his present loyalty. On the wide veranda of their new, comfortable home, Langa sat with her sister, who was now a qualified doctor doing her residency at the district hospital. In Langa's lap sat a little girl of 3, with her mother's fiery eyes and her father's easy smile. They had named her Tumalo, meaning, faith. Tumalo was playing with a 4-year-old Kagiso, who was fiercely protective of his younger cousin. The sound of their laughter was the sweetest music Langa had ever known. Nala, now an engineer, was visiting, her own fiancé helping Tabo with a new greenhouse project. Langa looked out over the land. The fields were green and productive. The children were safe and loved. The legacy of pain had been broken,